With the Social Security crisis looming on the horizon, it's important for people of all ages to find the appropriate investment vehicle to ensure that their quality of life maintains well into the retirement age. One such investment vehicle is real estate investing. There's four main reasons why real estate is such a great investment vehicle. And those are appreciation, depreciation, tax advantages, and leverage. So let's examine the first main point, appreciation. First of all, what does appreciation mean? Appreciation means that you buy a house for a small amount of money and sell it for a bigger amount of money. For example, if I were to buy a house for $10,000 and sell it for $100,000, we could say that that house appreciated $90,000. Now, you may say, well, the same could be said for the stock market or commodity trading. Things there appreciate as well. If you were to buy a stock for $5 and sell it for $10, and that stock appreciated $5. And while that's true, things do appreciate in the stock market, in the commodities market. Real estate is much more illiquid, so it's much easier to determine the trend in a real estate market because of the illiquid nature, and transactions take a lot longer rather than the stock market or futures market where trades happen every day and it's a much more liquid market and price point. There's much more price variability. In real estate, you're talking years and decades, whereas the stock market, you're talking hours and days. The second point is because real estate is such a long-term investment, it provides a hedge against inflation. And the fact that a house usually appreciates over time and it's a real asset, as opposed to a stock which is just issued on a secondary market, it provides a hedge against inflation, which is important in the current market environment where the Fed is with the easy money policies that the Fed is pursuing, such as quantitative easing. Now, depreciation, our second point, the second way to make money. Now you may say, well, depreciation, that sounds like somebody's losing money. And that's true, but that somebody isn't you, that somebody is Uncle Sam. So how it works is, if I have a house and it's worth $100,000 and I'm able to depreciate it over 20 years, that means I take a loss on paper of $5,000 a year for 20 years. Now you may ask, well, how does that help you make money? Well, it helps you make money if you're renting the house. Now, if I'm able to rent this house and make $1,000 net of expenses, to make the numbers easy, let's say my rent is $2,000 and my expenses for the taxes, insurance, maintenance is $1,000 a month. That means that I'm going to get $1,000 in my pocket every month. And now you may say, well, that's not much money, but if I'm able to depreciate the house at $5,000 a year, that means that of the $12,000 that I make each year off that house, $5,000 of it I get to keep in my pocket, because on paper that's a loss. I tell the government, well, I'm losing $5,000 a year on paper, but in reality I'm not losing that money and I don't have to pay taxes on that money. Now, Also, when looking for investors, high net worth individuals, the idea of depreciation for people who make a lot of money is great, because those people can use that depreciation um, to offset income gains in other areas. You know, if you're, let's say you're a movie star and you're making millions of dollars a year, if you buy an apartment complex and you're able to appreciate a couple $1,000,000, well, like the example with a single family home, that person would get that money in their pocket, and they would report a loss, but that loss is on paper. Um, Depreciation it's a very important topic, and one of the key aspects to making real estate such a great investment. The next point I want to cover is the tax advantage. Now, we talked about in depreciation where a person can write a paper loss where they don't actually give up any money, but they on paper they take a loss and they write that off in the taxes. And one of the tax advantages to real estate is depreciation. But there's also other tax advantages as well. For example, on investment properties and on your primary residence, you're able to write off your mortgage interest. So if you have a loan on the property, any interest you pay, you're able to write that off and offset that against your income for that year. Additionally, if you sell a property, like we talked about in the appreciation example, and you make a profit on it, instead of paying capital gains tax, you can do what's called a 1031 exchange. And what that means in IRS speak is that you trade up to a new property. So if I were to sell my house, the example where I bought a house at $50,000 and sold it for $100,000, if I were to do a 1031 exchange and buy a house for, let's say, $500,000, I could use that $100,000 that I made in the previous example to go towards my $500,000 house, and I wouldn't have to pay taxes on the money that I made in the previous sale. Now that's huge. In other areas such as the stock market or commodities, if you sell something, you have to pay a capital gains tax, and that takes away from your net profits. But in real estate, you don't have to do that. And over the course of a lifetime, or even over the course of 10 or 15 years, you can compound your profits by the 1031 exchange. It's a very powerful tool, as well as the other tax advantages of depreciation. Now, the last advantage of real estate is the leverage. In other investments, such as the stock market, you're only able to leverage 50% of your account balance. So let's say you have $100 in your account, you're only able to go out on margin or borrow against 50% of that, so you could only take out $150. In real estate, they allow you to take out 80%. So in essence, if you have $100 in the property, you're able to take out $180. And this is a real key advantage. For example, if I were to buy a home for $100,000, and the example where you're making $12,000 a year, $1,000 net profit each month. Well, if you're able to if you only put $20,000 into that property, that with 20% out of your pocket and 80% out of the bank's pocket, then you're effectively making a 50% return over a 50% return on your investment a year. More simply put, if you're making $12,000 a year, the money that you put in to buy that house, you'll have back in 2 years, in less than 2 years' time. So consequently, due to the key advantages of appreciation, depreciation, the tax advantages, and the leverage of real estate, makes it a very attractive investment vehicle for retirement. Thanks for watching.